All right, everybody. So you've decided to become a candidate. The first step in this process, as many of you know, is getting on the ballot, and that means that you've got to circulate some nominating petitions, and hopefully you've got some friends to help you get started with that as well. So today we're going to be talking about the very basics: what offices are on the ballot, how to collect signatures, how many signatures you need to collect, and of course, filing those petitions and those statements of financial interest as well. We have in the last couple of years seen some candidates get tripped up by this process, and so we'll try to talk about all of those loopholes that sometimes get potential candidates caught up in this process. So thank you all for taking a little bit of time out of your day to join us. And throughout the conversation, as I said before, please feel free to jump in with your questions, and we will do our best to address them as they come. So first, let's talk about what's on the municipal ballot in 2021. Too often people talk about these odd years as the off years, but for those of us in politics, there's no such thing. It's just a different year. And odd number years are our municipal election cycles. And following presidential years, that's when we will elect our municipal executives as well. So that means we'll be electing a county executive this year. We'll be electing mayors to our cities and boroughs. We'll be electing a new county sheriff this year, and we'll be electing 3 members to county council this year as well. Those are districts 2, 4, and 6. And for just geographic generality, District 2 is the northern part of the city of Erie, extending across the east and west bayfronts and into Lawrence Park. The 4th district is the southeastern part of the city, extending into 2 pieces of Mill Creek, districts 1 and 21 in Mill Creek, as well as much of the 5th Ward here in the city of Erie, and then the 6th legislative district for the county, which is primarily the southeastern part of Erie County. And so those seats are currently held by Andre Horton, Carl Anderson, and Scott Rastetter. To my knowledge, both Councilman Horton and Councilman Rastetter will be seeking re-election for their seats. And as you all know, Councilman Anderson has put his name out there as a candidate for Erie County Executive. We'll also be electing this year members of Erie City Council, Corey City Council, 4 members on Erie City Council, 2 members on Corey City Council. Those are our 2 third-class cities here in Erie County. And then we'll be electing members to borough councils throughout Erie County as well, where we have boroughs. We have a couple of different types of municipal government here in Erie County. We have, of course, our third-class cities, Erie and Corey. We have a lot of municipal boroughs, and then we have several townships as well. Lawrence Park is our only first-class township, and so they will be electing 2 township commissioners this year. Every other township in Erie County will be electing 1 township supervisor. We'll also be electing a city controller in the city of Erie. We'll be electing tax collectors in municipalities throughout Erie County, constables throughout Erie County, auditors throughout Erie County in our various municipalities. And then, of course, what too often goes undiscussed, and what I hope that some of you are here for today, and also in your networks, if you can reach out and talk to folks about putting their names on the ballots this year for the judge of elections and the election inspector positions. Those are very, very important roles. They don't require year-round attention. As a judge of elections and an election inspector, you will work twice a year. It takes a little bit of preparation, but these roles, the judge of elections, is really the arbiter at each precinct over any disputes, any conflicts or questions that voters might have about if they are a registered voter, a valid voter in that precinct. The judge of elections would settle any of those questions, and our election inspectors are the folks who help to run the precincts that day. The top vote getter in the election inspector's position will be the majority inspector, and the second highest vote getter will be the minority election inspector. And so there are judge of elections and election inspectors at every single precinct in Erie County. And so if we don't elect them in this term, the county will continue to look for volunteers to fill those roles. So even if you know someone who is even if you know someone who is currently serving as a judge of elections and plans to run as judge of elections again, don't discourage others necessarily from running for that spot, because the county will need a pool of candidates, people who are interested in these positions to help run our election processes. And as we saw in a high turnout election like we had in 2020, the person who fills the role of the judge of elections and the people who serve as election inspectors do serve a critical role, a critical function in these particular posts. Here are the basics. Each office requires a minimum number of signatures, and some offices require you to have to process a filing fee as well when you submit your petitions. Now, the minimum number of signatures are just that; they are minimum. We encourage you to try to get at best several more, but as a goal, try to shoot for at least double the number of signatures that are required for any position. This will allow you some wiggle room should a couple of your names be struck from petitions, and we'll talk in a few minutes about reasons why that might be, why individual electors might get removed from your petitions. For example, if by accident a Republican signs your Democratic petition and someone sees that and flags that, that name would be removed. You get enough of those racked up, and you've got yourself a problem in terms of having enough signatures to get on the ballot. So we want to make sure that you collect enough signatures and that those signatures come from qualified electors. Pennsylvania primaries, with the exception of a couple of races, are partisan elections. That means that for most of you, the signatures that you'll be collecting have to be from Democrats in Erie County or in the precinct in the election in the elected area where you are, in the municipality, excuse me, where you are running for office. And so that means if you're running in the city of Erie, you have to get signatures only from Democrats who live and are registered in the city of Erie. If you are in Harbor Creek running for office, running for school board, say, you have to get signatures only from Democrats who live in Harbor Creek. And as I said before, the caveat to that is that some offices, district magistrates, and members of the school board are allowed to cross file, which means you can be both on the Republican and Democratic ticket. If you are running as a Democrat, you will need to have a registered Democrat circulate your petitions for you if someone is helping you to circulate these nominating petitions. If you are cross filing for school board or for district judge, you will need and you want to have a Republican nominating petition circulated, you will have to have a registered Republican circulate that petition to two other registered Republicans on your behalf. Okay, so that's an important distinction, and like I said, there are very few offices where that matters. But for those offices, if you are choosing to cross file, you'll need to follow those rules. So let's get into the nitty gritty here. If you're running for one of our executive offices in Erie County, county executive, county sheriff, or the clerk of record, since these are county-wide seats, you will need a minimum of 250 signatures. You will need to collect a minimum of 250 signatures from Democrats only on petitions circulated by Democrats. Once you've collected those signatures and you have the requisite number of signatures and you're all ready to file, you will need a $100 filing fee to submit those petitions. That $100 filing fee needs to be submitted in either a personal check, a check from your campaign committee, should you choose to create one, or by money order. You cannot submit cash for your filing fee for any of these offices. If you are considering running for mayor in the city of Erie or the city of Corey, or for city controller in Erie City or in the city of Corey, city treasurer in Corey, or city council, and again, there are 4 city council seats here in the city of Erie that will be on the ballot, and 2 council seats that will be on the ballot for the city of Corey. The highest vote getters, the top 4 vote getters in the city of Erie and the top 2 vote getters in the city of Corey in the general election will ultimately win those seats. You need 100 signatures for those citywide offices, a minimum of 100 signatures. We recommend again that you try to double that if possible. And some candidates like to get as many signatures as possible because this is it's a good way to show your competition a little strength that you've gotten a significant number of signatures, and it shows perhaps a base of support. And then it also gives you an opportunity to interact with many more voters, perhaps for the first time. And so that initial interaction can be their first introduction to you, and so do take this opportunity to meet as many voters as possible. If you are filing nominating petitions for any of these citywide offices in the city of Erie or the city of Corey, the filing fee for those petitions is just $25. There are a couple of magisterial district judge seats up in both the city and throughout the county. You will need 100 signatures, a minimum of 100 signatures to file for each party. Again, you can cross-file for magisterial district judge as both a Democrat and a Republican. So you would need 100 signatures on a Democratic nominating petitions and 100 signatures on Republican nominating petitions if you were to cross file for that office, and the filing fee for that office is $50. If you are seeking office in any borough or township in Erie County, any borough or township office, you will need a minimum of 10 signatures. 10 signatures doesn't seem like a lot, and so we would encourage you to get as many as you can. I would recommend trying to triple that if possible, or exceed that tripling and get at least 30 signatures if possible. Again, this is an opportunity for you to meet voters in this borough or township, and 10 is not a great requirement. If you are running for office in any borough or township in Erie County, there is no filing fee for those offices. If you are running for school board in any of the school districts, there are 4 seats open on every school district in Erie County this year. Each seat requires 10 signatures, and again, that's 10 signatures per nominating petition per party. So if you are going to cross file, you'll need those signatures from both Democrats and Republicans, but there is no fee for filing as a school director. If you're going to run for constable, all of the constable seats are open in Erie County this year, or are up anyway for election. Many of them were vacant heading into 2021. So if you know folks who may be interested in these positions. It is a unique position, and we would encourage you to reach out and talk to folks that you know about filling that position. There is some compensation for constable, depending on the job that you're asked to do by the district magistrates, and every ward or district in Erie County has a constable. Each constable needs a minimum of 10 signatures. Again, this is a partisan election, so you'd be running as a Democrat. You would need a minimum of 10 signatures, and there is a $10 filing fee because this is considered a state office. And so there is a $10 filing fee, and we'll talk about a little bit different process in filing for constable as well when we get a little further on and talk about that statement of financial interest that is so important in finalizing your nominating petitions. And then finally, those last two positions are those important election day offices, the judge of elections and the election inspector. If you are running for judge of elections, again, a partisan position, you'll need 10 signatures from registered Democrats in the precinct where you are running for judge of elections. There is no filing fee, but it's important to note that the 10 signatures have to come from people who live in that precinct. For most of you that are thinking about those offices, or if you're talking to people who are thinking about those offices, that means that you could walk down the block and find probably 10 Democrats to sign your petitions. Again, get a few more than that, double or triple that number. It's easy to do that. Fill one nominating petition sheet with 25 signatures and submit that petition. For the election inspector, you only need to get 5 signatures in order to have your name on the ballot. And again, there is no filing fee. Like many of the municipal offices throughout Erie County, a lot of times these go uncontested. And so if you can go through the process to get your name on the ballot, there is a high likelihood that you may be the next judge of elections or election inspector in your precinct. When I stopped down at the county courthouse the other day to pick up some extra nominating petitions to have on hand at the Democratic Party office, the folks in the elections office pleaded that there were to help find more people to run for election inspectors and judge of elections. There are many people in Erie County who have done this for a long time. Those folks are getting up in age, and because of COVID and also because of the new technology that's been brought into the election process, many folks are reluctant to continue on in those roles. And so it creates a great opportunity for folks to begin to get their name on the ballot in their local precinct, and perhaps to think about running for something else down the road. But again, this is a critical job that I think often goes overlooked. Any questions so far about the positions on the ballot?
Mr. Chairman, may I interrupt for a moment?
You may.
I just wanted to say, for clarity's sake, for anybody who might not be as familiar with this whole process as we are, when he says cross-filing for Republican and Democratic ballot, it just means that you show up on the Democratic primary ballot and the Republican primary ballot, and there is always a chance that you can beat the other people on the Republican ballot and go into the general with both the Democratic and Republican nominations. You could go in with just the Democratic nomination. Either way, it's just cross-filing means that you show up on both ballots in the primary.
That's right. Thank you. Next, we're going to talk about what's on the actual petition itself. And because there's no good way to show you the legal sized form that we will that you'll need to carry with you, I've kind of broken it down into chunks from the top of the page to the end of the back of the page. Each petition is two-sided. You can make photocopies of the blank petitions, but you cannot submit photocopies of completed petitions. And so each petition comes with some general information that you need to address. And I would encourage either you as the candidate or members of your campaign team to fill these out for your circulators, the people who are going to carry these petitions, because you want all of this information to be consistent. And so as we'll just kind of run through what the blanks are here at the top of the page to give you an idea of how to fill those out. The first blank, of course, is Erie County. You can see that, all of whom are qualified electors of Erie County. And then this is where you'll need to put the municipality where you are running for office, right? So in some cases on the ballot, if you just put Erie because that is your postal address, that's an adequate distinction. In this particular case, you need to be specific about the municipality in which you are running for office. So that's the second line here on the top of the petition. And are registered and enrolled members of the Democratic Party hereby petition the Board of Elections of, again, Erie County to have the name of, and here's where you'll put your name on the ballot. Now, this is how you want your name to appear on the ballot. So a lot of people don't know my real name is Robert. If I was to run for office, I would not put Robert Wirtz on the ballot because no one would know who Robert Wirtz is. I would use Jim Wirtz because that's how people know me. And so if you like me have a pseudonym that you go by, you're going to want to use that on the ballot here and print that on the top of the page. Now, it also asks what your occupation is. This is the same as if you've ever made a political donation online. A lot of times the form that you fill out will ask you what your occupation is as well. This doesn't have to be your specific job title. It's a general statement of what your occupation is. And so if you are a teacher, it doesn't have to say third grade teacher. It could just say educator or teacher. You can be somewhat generic in your occupation there, as well as your place of residence. When you list your place of residence, you write it out just as you would if you were writing it on an envelope to mail a letter to your house. Printed upon the ballot and aforesaid party in the district for the municipal primary of course, 2021. And then, of course, that last line is where you put the office that you are running for. And so if you are running for city council in the city of Erie, you could write Erie City Council or City Council, City of Erie. It helps, I think, to make that distinction. I think City Council would be enough there for title of office, but it helps if you can designate the municipality there as well. The next area on the form, and I have a couple here. I'll show you. The form is large. It's a legal size sheet of paper, which is why it is difficult to display here. But I will give you the close up of what each line looks like. And I want to talk about some of the pitfalls here as you are collecting signatures. You'll notice that the first line in the petition is the signature of the elector, and the second line is the printed name of elector. For whatever reason, I think so many of the forms that we fill out, you print your name first and then sign your name. People are in that habit. They don't even think about it. They go through it by process. And so some folks will print their name on the first line and try and sign the second line. And a lot of times you don't realize that they've done so until you've already walked away from the door, or you get home and you're checking over your petition. Please be very cognizant of this as you're at the door talking to signatories. You want those folks to make sure that they fill this out properly. So you want that the signature of the person to be in the first column, and then have them print their name. The printed name name should be the same name in the same form as the signature is. So if someone uses a particular signature or is registered to vote in a certain way, you would want to make sure that the signature matches the printed name. So as I said before, my first name is actually Robert, but I go by Jim, but I'm registered as Robert. So if I was to sign this, I would sign it as Robert Wirtz and print it as Robert Wirtz, not sign as Jim Wirtz and print as Jim Wirtz. And then the address is pretty straightforward: house number, street number, city, borough, or township. For city, borough, or township, you can use the municipality in which the person is registered and in which you are running for office. Or if you're using the postal address, that is adequate as well. There's often some conversation about this, but I don't believe the rules have changed on that. So if, for example, if you live in Summit Township, but you have Erie on your, if your address is Erie, PA, and then the zip code, you could use Erie there as well. And then the date of signing. The date of signing is critical. You want to make sure that, one, the date of signing is correct. And so maybe you can just look over the petition as someone is signing it and make sure that they're to let them know what the date is. The other thing that you want to do is to make sure that all of your dates are sequential. So if you go out and you collect signatures, on the 17th, the 18th, and the 19th of February, and just out of mistake, someone accidentally fills out your petition. They have it signed correctly. They have their name printed correctly. They have the address where they're registered at filled out correctly. But everybody above them has put down 2/19 as the date, and the next person on there accidentally slides back a day in their mind and writes 2/18 on the date. You're going to want to ask that person to re-sign your petition. Just simply take your pen and scratch out the entire row. Scratch out the entire row where they have signed it, and ask them to sign the next line on your petition with the correct date. If your dates are out of sequence, it could cost you not only that single line, but every signature below that line as well. So that could be brutal. If that's on your third or fourth line on a petition and you've gone out and you've collected 30 petitions, and someone wants to challenge your petitions on the fact that your dates are out of sequence, that could cost you the other 27 signatures on your petition and you are off the ballot. So the making sure that those dates are sequential is critical. The other thing is that sometimes folks will, if you catch them doing it, they'll try to fix it on your petition. Don't bother fixing it. You'll have plenty of copies of the petition. Just cross it out, because if you have marks on your petition that looks like the names were corrected, the address was corrected, or the date is corrected, those could all be challenged, and those signatures could ultimately be void on your petitions. Okay, so it's much better. I know it's not a common thing that we would do to waste a space and waste part of the paper, but just take your pen that you're using and scratch out that entire row and go on to the next row, and you'll be in good stead. The other thing that is common for signatories to do is to use ditto marks on the city and borough line, or on the date of signing line. Ditto marks are not legal marks for your petition. So again, if you catch somebody putting ditto marks down because they're in the same city, borough, or township as everybody else on your petition, or because they're signing on the same date as everybody else on your petition, you're going to need to stop them. Again, I would encourage you just to scratch out the entire line and have them rewrite their name, re-sign, reprint, and redo their address and date of signing on the next line down. You don't want to lose signatures on your petition because of silly errors like that. You also don't want to have any errant marks on your petition. So just be careful as the person, as people are signing, that they don't accidentally get an ink mark or a pen mark, check mark somewhere else on the petition that might cost you some of those lines. Any other questions? This could be a bit of a this is the area I think where people have the kind of the most anxiety as they're going out and going to people's doors and collecting those signatures, especially after you've talked to somebody for a couple of minutes and you've convinced them to sign your petition, and then you notice that they've done something wrong, and so you have to ask them to do it again. Most people are generous with their time and will do it. Please, please, please don't hesitate to ask them to re-sign your petition, because otherwise it may cost you your entire nomination. Chelsea, did you have something you wanted to?
Hey, yeah, I'm going to tap in real quick. I just wanted to say two things about this part of the page. Blue or black ink, people need to be signing in. Don't have them do pencil, red pen, nothing like that. Just your standard blue or black ballpoint pen. And also common mistake for people when they're signing these is that when they're going through and writing their address on the right-hand portion of the sheet, they just keep writing their address. So instead of the date, they put their zip code. They don't need their zip code. The information for their address is sufficient in the columns that are provided. It has to be the date. So if they do mess that up, first of all, it's something to watch for. And second of all, if they mess it up, one line strike through is sufficient to move on to the next line, because you don't want your whole page thrown out over a silly mistake, basically.
You might ask a question.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, Caleb.
I was just gonna say, in like the street or road, like I live on Height Avenue, so would it be kosher for me to put avenue, or like are you not allowed to like denote road, street, avenue, etc.?
No, you can.
Okay.
Some folks will just write the name of the street or the avenue, but you can certainly use whatever designation it is. If you lived on Forest Court, you could write that in there. It doesn't matter. They're just trying to delineate which section of the petition you're using for each piece of information.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. And since we are in COVID, the state party has offered some recommendations on collecting signatures during COVID. We will say that you should, at the bare minimum, you should operate based on what your comfort level is, and try to gauge as best you can the comfort level of the people who will be signing your petition. So if that means you want to carry around 2 baggies of pens, one for clean pens and one for dirty pens, you could do that. One of the recommendations that the state party made is that you can call through everybody that you're going to be contacting are Democrats, and you can get a list of Democrats in your municipality from the county courthouse, or if you are running for office, you can access that information through us, the county party, as well, and that you identify who those folks are first, and then maybe even make a couple of phone calls. If you're going to stay in your neighborhood, you're going to go around the block, maybe call them all first and ask if they're okay with you coming to the door to sign your petition. The other thing is, I would recommend, you're going out, you're going door to door, you're going to move quickly from house to house, or as quickly as possible. I know when you see some neighbors that you might know, they might want to invite you in for tea, and you sit down and spend the hour. You're on a mission here. Come back and have tea later, and just try to get out and collect your signatures. But because you are going to be going to many households, the people who aren't comfortable interacting with you probably aren't going to open their door anyway. And so I would recommend getting that list, identifying your Democratic voters in your municipality, and then going out and starting to hit those doors. For those of you that only need to collect 10 signatures and however many more you add on to that, you might be able to do that in just a few households. So if you look at that Democratic voter list and you can see a house that has 4 or 5 registered Democrats in it, or a couple of houses that have a multitude of Democrats, those are easy targets. You can go there first and ask those folks to sign. if you are still attending any gatherings, or you're going to work in a place where a lot of people kind of live near one another, or your municipality is a bit broader, then those are good ways to get all of those signatures as well. So you just want to be conscientious of COVID at the moment, and conscientious of how people feel about this. You certainly don't want to sully your name as a candidate because you were not cautious enough. But nevertheless, we have not been given an alternative to the petition signing process, and so we still have to carry this out just as we would if we were not in the midst of this pandemic. So be safe out there. Wear a mask if you're comfortable, and you want to wear gloves as well, by all means. But whatever you think works for you and the folks in your municipality.
Jim?
Yes, Lee.
A couple of quick questions. I'm assuming they can abbreviate road or avenue.
That's correct.
And my other question has to do, in my case, running for a township position, would they put Washington Township? Or
Yep.
is it also okay if they write Edinburgh?
If they live in Edinburgh proper, they can write Edinburgh as the borough, or Washington Township. Okay. It doesn't matter. But I would say if you're running for a Washington Township council position, I would encourage everyone to put Washington down as the township.
Thank you.
Yep.
Hey, Jim.
Yes.
I jumped in here a little late. We're allowed to sign our own petitions, correct?
You are indeed allowed to sign your own petitions. In fact, as a candidate, a new candidate heading onto the ballot, your name should be the first one on your petitions, and certainly any other Democrats that are in your household, fill them up. It's the easiest first ask you'll ever make, and hopefully everybody in your household wants to sign your petition. If they don't, maybe you want to question why you're running for office. But yes, by all means, sign your own petition. Once you get through, as I said, on the first side is primarily the candidate and office information at the top, followed by 25 lines to collect signatures. On the back is 3 sections of completely different information. And so we're going to talk about what those official sections of the back side of the petition are.
Jim, could I interrupt for a second?
You sure may, Cindy.
The one that I have right now in the very last election, I think they redid these to make them letter size. So there's 14 lines on the front and another 15 on the back. So they're easily reproducible in most copiers.
Cindy, did you get those last year? The one that you have?
The one that I have right now is from a statewide candidate that I just received.
Correct. So the ones that come from the Department of State are normal letter size. They're 8.5 by 11. The ones that the county petitions are the legal size petitions.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Yep. So on the back side of the petition, the person who carries your petition for you will need to fill out the statement of circulator, affirming that they are indeed the person who collected signatures on your behalf. If you have, as the candidate, are the circulator, you'll need to fill out this section on the top of the back side of your petition. If someone else carries your petition, even if they've only collected 1 signature, they need to fill out the statement of the circulator on the back of the petition. You'll notice that line 1 is the county of the petitioner's residence. That should be Erie County. The second line is the printed name of the circulator, the third, the signature, and then the person's mailing address, the circulator's mailing address. Now, if you or someone you know has done this before, prior to last year, all of the all of the statements of the circulators needed to be notarized. And so the candidates and their circulators used to have to get together and all go find a notary. And it was quite a process. And the party or campaigns would try to get a notary together to make sure that this was all done correctly. One of the changes that came with Act 77 and the mail ballots was that circulators no longer needed to have their statements notarized. So all we need is for that circulator to sign their petition. So again, even if they only have one line or two lines, have them fill out that statement of the circulator and move on. But they do not need to. They do not need that portion of the petition to be notarized. That being said, the candidate's affidavit does still need to be notarized. So you as the candidate will need to fill out the candidate's affidavit. As you can see at the top, you're going to enter the title of the office that you're running for. And on the right-hand side of the lower portion of this is where you will fill out the candidate's information, okay? The left-hand side is for the notary. Don't touch this unless you are in the presence of the notary, okay? Legally, you only need to sign it in the presence of the notary, but it is just easier and safer if you leave the candidate's affidavit alone until you get to the notary. If for some reason you don't have access to a notary and you are getting close to that date, they have a notary at the elections office, so you can carry your petitions with the candidate's affidavit unsigned and unfilled out, take it into the election office, and they will notarize this for you when you submit your petitions. Okay. The folks in the elections office will give a basic look at your petitions, but they can't tell you whether your signatures are valid or invalid. They can't tell you anything other than, is this information on your candidate's affidavit filled out correctly? Okay. So they are of great help in a great number of things, but legally there's only so much they're allowed to do with these petitions, and notarizing them for you is one of those processes. So again, and I can't repeat this enough, do not touch the candidate's affidavit until you are in the presence of a notary, and have that person make sure that the notary not only fills this out, but stamps it for you as well. Without that stamp, your petitions are invalid.
Tap in real quick back to the affidavit of circulator that was right before this slide. Whoever is circulating your petition, if that's you, if that's somebody else, cannot sign that until you are done with that sheet of signatures. Whether it doesn't need to be a complete sheet of signatures, but whenever you're done circulating it, that's when that part gets signed. It should not be signed until it's done being circulated.
And as a note on the page, when you have your final signature, let's say you have 15 signatures on one sheet, some candidates or campaigns will actually draw a line below that, below the last signature, and have the circulator initial the petition there as well before they sign the statement of the circulator, indicating that no other signatures should be below that point. That is the safest legal means you have to keep from having additional signatures challenged on your petition. Any questions on the candidate's affidavit? It's basic information about you and the office you're running for, but again, that notary is key. So please resist the urge to fill out the entire form before you get there.
Jim, there's a question in the chat from Kat. Does each form need the candidate's affidavit filled out versus just one for all the sheets?
I believe each form needs the candidate's affidavit filled out. Is there any challenge to that? I believe each petition needs to be completed.
I think that's where the county and the state ones differ.
Yeah. And again, even if you're running for one of the countywide offices that requires 250 or more signatures. It's only a few pages, so it shouldn't be too difficult to do. And then the final piece is the candidate's information, and that's at the bottom of your petition here. This is, again, very basic information once you filled out the top of the front page. The party that you are a member of, the office that you are seeking, the municipality in which you're seeking that office. I believe only the city of Erie has formal wards, although Corey is broken into 3 wards as well, but I don't know if they refer to them as wards or districts. And then the length of the term that you are that you're applying, or excuse me, that your office is held for. So township supervisors, for example, are a 6-year term, whereas city council folks are only for a 4-year term. If you are unsure what the term of office is for any of these offices, feel free to contact us. It's also available on the Erie County voting website. You can download the candidate's information for each office, and that's at eriecountypa.gov, and just click on the voting button on the homepage, and then you should see all of your options for running for office. This last section will be filled out by the clerk at the Board of Elections office, the county elections office, when you turn in your petitions. And you'll see here again, that middle section, how you fill that out, how you would like your name to appear on the ballot. The most basic part of the petition, I think, but important nonetheless. And finally, the final piece of this is your statement of financial interest. Every candidate for office needs to fill out a statement of financial interest, and there are different rules for each one. So as you can see here, if you are running for a statewide office, you would file this with the State Ethics Commission. Same is true for constables. If you or someone you know is going to be running for constable, because that is considered a state position, they need to file with both the State Ethics Commission as well as the County Board of Elections. Now, a few years ago, there was a case where several of our school board candidates forgot or didn't know to file the statement of financial interest with the County Board of Elections as well as with the school district. And so several of those folks ended up being bumped off of the ballot because their nominations were challenged on the basis that they didn't properly file all of their candidates' paperwork. So if you are running for a countywide, a citywide, a borough or township office, you'll need to file the statement of financial interest, which is also available on the county website at eriecountypa.gov. Under the elections office, and it's a very simple form to fill out. If you have ever worked in a state office, you've probably filled out one of these forms before with your HR folks. But it's a very simple form to fill out, and you fill it out and you submit it when you turn in your petition. So if you are, for example, running for Erie City Council, you would file this with Erie County, and then you would take a copy of your financial interest statement and file it with the clerk in the city of Erie at Erie City Hall. If you are running for a school board position in any school board in Erie County, you'll file your nominating petitions and your statement of financial interest at the Erie County Elections Office, and you will submit another copy of your statement of financial interest at the school district office, wherever that happens to be in the municipality where you're at. But it is a very, very, very important part of this process. questions on the statement of financial interest, and they're not asking you to really disclose any information that you wouldn't that wouldn't be included on any general filing. They just want to make sure that you don't have extensive revenue sources from the Russians or someone else. So, trying to avoid any potential conflicts of interest at all levels of government. So a couple of important dates here. Certainly these are not all of the important dates that are listed. If you look on the on Votes PA, the statewide website, or if you look on the Erie County website, the list of important dates is much longer. We just want to get you to the primary election day. And so the first day to circulate and file petitions is Tuesday, February 16th. That's this coming Tuesday. You can get petitions at the Erie County Courthouse if you haven't already. All you do is go into security where the sheriffs are all at the front door, and you tell them that you're going to the elections office to pick up nominating petitions. You'll go through security, go down to the elections office, and they have every office broken down. They have a petition and an instruction form for every single office in Erie County. If you are thinking that maybe you want a couple of extra copies, they have lots of extra blank nominating petitions that you can take with you as well. Very easy process. And we'll also be posting some hours via email and social media for the Erie County Democratic Party office, where you can stop in and pick up some spare petitions if you need to. If you're out and about and you find yourself with a shortage of petitions, you can stop by and see us there as well. The last day to circulate and file petitions is Tuesday, March 9th at 4:30 p.m. Your petitions must be into the Erie County Courthouse, and your statements of financial interest must be submitted to their relevant municipalities by 4:30 on Tuesday, March 9th. And so if you're running for constable, as I said before, that is considered a state office. So you'll need to file your nominating petitions with the county, but you'll need to make sure that statement of financial interest reaches the state ethics office in Harrisburg by 4:30 on March 9th. And so you'll want to get that in the mail early or overnight it. And I would recommend sending it as certified, registered certified mail as well to verify that they have received it. Otherwise, you'll be doing all of that work locally, and there will be a record of your submission as well. Now, let's say, for example, that you've circulated your nominating petitions, you have enough signatures to get on the ballot, you've gone down to the elections office and filed your petitions, and you've gone to the municipality and filed your statement of financial interest. But something comes up down the road and you decide, hey, you know what? I've decided that running for office just isn't for me this time. The last day to withdraw your name from the ballot for the spring primary is Wednesday, March 24th. If you do not withdraw your name from the spring primary, your name will remain on the ballot for May 18th, whether or not you want to run for that office or not. So you may end up being elected and then have to decide if you want to follow through with that, or if you are resigning upon being elected without actually taking office. So that's an important date. A lot of people overlook. Obviously, when most of you get to this point, you're not thinking about taking your name off the ballot, but things happen. Life happens sometimes. And so that is an important date to keep in mind as well. And then finally, after you've submitted your nominating petitions, and you've cleared all the hurdles and your name is going to appear on the ballot, you can go out and start campaigning, and you'll campaign straight through Tuesday, May 18th. That is election day here in Pennsylvania, primary election day, and primary election day here in Erie County. And an exciting time it will be for all of you candidates, first-time candidates or otherwise. And we look forward to seeing your names on the ballot and welcoming you all as elected Democratic officials later in the year as well. So any questions?
I have a question, Jim. It's
Go for it,
Linda.
Linda. Yep.
With the financial, I want to run for judge of elections. Does that count also? Because it's not on this list.
let's see here. I have a judge of elections.
That an inspector.
Yeah. It's not on the check sheet for election workers, but I would fill one out and have it with you anyway. It's an easy enough form to get and to do, and just take it with you when you file your nominating petitions.
Okay.
If you don't need it, they will tell you. You could also make a call down to the Erie County Elections Office and ask if they need it. I kind of think you don't need it for judge of elections and election inspector, but I'm not 100% sure. So in the absence of full knowing, I would encourage you either to call down there or just take the sheet with you and fill it out if necessary.
All right, thanks.
Yep.
Jim, the statement of financial interest running for township council, would I turn this into the township building?
That's
or-
correct. Yep. You'll go to the township building and you will file it with the clerk at the township. So that might be someone who serves many other roles in the township as well. But when you go in and ask at the front desk who you need to file that with, the folks in the township office will know exactly who that is.
Thank you.
Yep. Any other questions?
All right, I'm going to pop in real quick.
Go ahead.
I know that collecting petition signatures can be a little bit daunting, especially if you've never done this before. And then, you throw in the pandemic thing and it makes it a little bit more complicated than it already is. If you need any street lists of Democrats for if you want to knock some doors in your neighborhood for them, if you want to confirm that somebody's a registered Democrat, you can email Jim or you can email me. We can look that up for you, or delegate to Cindy and Katie because they're both also able to do that. Especially for seats that like lower seats like this, it's really not a big deal for us to get you some names of people who might be in your neighborhood that you can talk to. Or just confirm that somebody is a registered Democrat in that election district for you. So don't be daunted by that part of things. Also, in the age of coronavirus, a lot of people have been talking about doing mailing petitions to people who they've already identified as supporters, and either having, instead of like kind of a contact list delivery type thing, if you're trying to give your petition to somebody else to circulate, just mailing it to them, or mailing to supporters who have a high number of Democrats in their household who can just sign it and send it back to you. And also like really try to get creative with it. You can give it to you if you're working in person right now, you can circulate to your coworkers. If you have friends or family who are working or who are doing things and seeing other people, that is another good way to get petition signatures, since there aren't going to be any big exciting socializing events this year, or any sort of fish fries or other things that we would typically go to circulate petitions. So you just kind of got to get creative with it.
I'll add to that if you are, because mailing mailing the petitions to a household with a number of Democrats in it is a good way to get a couple. For example, if you only need 10 signatures and you have 5 or 6 households that have 3 to 5 Democrats living in them, that's a good way to collect all the signatures you need. I would make a little instruction sheet, a little check sheet for that person. One, make sure you can fill out the top of the petition. Make sure that they know clearly what they're signing in each box, and then make sure that the head of household, whoever that happens to be, fills out that circulator's statement as well. Right? Otherwise, you're going to get that back, and then you'll have to go back out and chase them down. So you want to give them those 3 basic pieces of information. 1, making sure they put the right information in the right spaces. 2, making sure that whoever is responsible for the petition in the household fills out the statement of the circulator. And then the third important piece of information is what date you need that petition back by. And so if you are going to mail a petition out to folks make sure, and you're planning on them mailing it back to you. Remember that our mail goes to Pittsburgh and back. Sometimes that's a couple of days. Sometimes I've received postcards that have been 12 days from Pittsburgh. And so this is not a big window, but you want to make sure that you can do that. I would kind of recommend that if you're going to mail petitions out to someone's house, that you come up with another strategy to pick them up rather than having them be mailed back to you. Katie, I see you have a hand up.
Yeah, I was wondering if there's any sort of residency requirements, like if you want to run for school board in the city of Erie, do you need to have proof or have lived in the city of Erie for a certain number of months or years as a candidate?
Different offices have different residency requirements. As a general rule, most of them are residency for 1 year, although some of the petitions do, or excuse me, some of the offices do not require the 1 year residency. And the county has nicely laid that out on the instructions for each office as well.
Jim, Cindy has a question about judicial candidates.
I do, and maybe this is for Zach. Where do I find the petitions for the endorsed candidates?
So I believe Maria's campaign is mailing them out to chairs and vice chairs. Yeah, Jim, did you already get them from her?
I do. I have Judge McLaughlin's petitions, and I have Judge Lane's petitions, and I believe I do not have petitions yet for David Spurgeon, Judge McLaughlin and Judge Spurgeon being the two endorsed candidates. I also received blank petitions for Jill Beck and Amanda Green Hawkins.
And I'll follow up with David's campaign team and see if I can get some answers on that.
Great. So Jim, are they email? You can just email them over.
I sure can, and we'll be making some copies of them too. If any of you do get petitions, this is maybe a side note because we're talking about statewide candidates, and it's a little different animal. But if you have those 8.5 by 11 sheets, to make sure that you print on both sides of the same sheet, as opposed to 2 single sides.
Hey, Jim.
Yes.
For the people that are cross-filing, can you get a list of Republicans from you also?
Well, if you are, yes. The short answer is yes, Nick. If you are a committee person and have access to Vote Builder already, you'll be able to see that in there as well.
Yeah, somebody's supposed to train me on that, Jim.
Well, perfect, because Zach Farmer's hand is up, and Zach Farmer can also train you.
That's right. Zach Farmer, go ahead.
So I wasn't talking about Vote Builder training, but one thing I do want to emphasize, that March 9th date, the last day, that is a hard and fast deadline. What I recommend is that if you collect your 2 or 3 times recommended number of signatures, you have your financial interest statement filled out early, file everything early, because if there are problems and you show up at 4 o'clock on March 9th, you're not going to have time to fix it. So I know people who have missed out on the ballot because a woman I knew out in Delaware County got into a fender bender on her way to the elections office, and by the time she got it resolved, they had closed on the last day. So always err on the side of caution, get your stuff in as early as possible. That's just to avoid the pitfalls there.
Yeah, it's a really important point, especially in the era of COVID. The election office has been very accommodating and has made sure that people have all the access that they need in order to get into the petition signing process. We don't know what the world will hold for us come March 9th, and so when you have a number of signatures that you feel comfortable with and submitting, I would recommend getting them in early as well.
And you can always file supplemental petition sheets. So if you turn all your stuff in, it's the amount that you need and you're comfortable with, and your candidates' affidavits and stuff, and you decide to circulate more petitions, you can always file them as a supplemental, like addendum, with the office.
I have a question real
Yep.
quick about the elections office. How are they operating under COVID? Are they open to the public like you would just go in normally, or is it a call ahead?
So
Schedule something?
yeah, so the office is open. The courthouse is not generally open to the public right now.
Right.
So when you go to security, you'll just, when you enter the courthouse and the security is there, the sheriff's deputies are there, you just tell them that you are going to the elections office to pick up nominating petitions. They may ask you what for what office, but they'll let you through security at that point, and then you just proceed back to the elections office. And they have everything really well organized in there. They have a table back behind their window that has all of the offices and petitions all already organized, and they'll just be able to hand you the packet and off you go. It's
Well,
a very quick
I
process.
had them mail me my petitions. I got
Okay.
one and then I got 2 extras to see if I can get some inspectors. But I was just wondering for when we go to file the petitions, the finished petitions.
Yeah,
Because I
assuming
remember going down there for other candidates that I had gotten petitions. It was a madhouse.
yeah.
So I don't know what they're going to do.
Yeah, assuming that everything remains as normal, I would assume that they'll have some way to try to space people out. But again, I think that's important to think about that 4:30 deadline on March 9th as well.
Okay.
Can I say that I have already contacted the elections office about the petitions, a couple weeks ago, and I think that I would like to talk to them again about how they plan to handle the last few days of, at least that Monday and Tuesday is usually when it's very busy. So can I say that I will get back to Jim, who will get back to you all?
I think we'll have follow-up information that will go out through the county email list as well, and certainly all of you who registered today, we will make sure that you get direct information when we get it from the county as well. Any other questions? Any other takers? All right. Well, thanks everybody, and thanks to all of you who are running for office this year. It's a incredible next step to take, and it's an important one. And I feel like in this particular election cycle, coming off of a somewhat long and depending on where you sat, somewhat toxic 2020. A lot of folks are reluctant to take this next step, and so I'm encouraged by the faces that I see here, and hope that we can help you in any way that you need to be successful throughout 2021.
Thank you, Jim, and everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you all for coming last minute on a Sunday.
Valentine's Day, no less.
Happy Valentine's.